How's it going, YouTube? It's Pilot Flame, and today we are back with another video, and we're going to be looking at Samurai and what we can see from it coming in Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Shadowbringers. Please note that anything you see in this video regarding tooltips or media has come from the North American and European media tours that was hosted by Square Enix, so everything is subject to significant change. So without further ado, let's get started. So Samurai was suffered from a lot of different deficiencies. It was postered to be this just DPS that could carry everything, the Mr. President as it were, the glass cannon, the one that has no raid utility and did all the damage by itself. Unfortunately, with the raid buffs being as strong as they were in the last expansion as well as in Heaven's War before it was even in existence, it just struggled a lot. So we have to see what they're going to be giving it. It looks like they're moving more towards the I'm going to do as much damage as possible, and that's going to be my thing, but with everything looking like it's moving towards the buff up the glass cannon, or at least we suspect it will, the Samurai could be in a very good position to do that. So what did they get new in this expansion? Well, for starters, their EI Jutsu at level 74 gets reduced to 1.3 second cast time, so 0.2 seconds off there. And they get an enhanced trait for Jinpu and Shifu, which buffs the damage and speed reductions on their abilities to 12%. They get a new ability level 72, which is called Hisatsu Sene, which is basically the equivalent of single target Gurren, dealing 1250 potency from the media tour, which is a lot of damage. At level 68, you actually receive a new ability called Ffxiv Shadowbringers, which is a 60-second recast timer that just gives you 50 Kenki gauge, which is replacing Hagakure, which is no longer in the game. The last new ability that you receive is Sohoha, which is a combo off of meditation, and depending on how long you meditated for, depends on the potency increase. So if you had a meditation for 5 server ticks, I believe is how it's going to work, you get a 500 potency ability. So it's going to be worth using whether you can get 1 tick off or 5, as long as there's downtime. It just makes the most sense, especially if you can get off the full channel, because that's a lot of Kenki that you'll be gaining, which results in more damage for you, which is obviously quite nice. Abilities that basically retain their same utility and function is Hisatsu Gyoten, Hisatsu Yaiten, NP, Hisatsu Q10, Hisatsu Shinten, Hisatsu Kaiten, Hisatsu Gurren, although Gurren no longer has fall off damage, as well as every other Samurai ability that involves AoE. They do not have fall off, and that is one thing that I guess they're pushing towards the Samurai, like, hey look, they're going to do the most damage and everything is just going to be just raw amounts of damage since they have no utility. Third Eye also maintains its place, still going into Merciful Eyes, and Hisatsu Seigen, which is obviously a damage increase, and Mikyo's Shisui saw a good little buff, so now it's on a 60-second recast timer. Does not affect your EI Jutsu, so that's going to be timed every time you have a burst window for your reapplication of Higanbana, which is your 60-second dot. With EI Jutsu cooldown being reduced, you also receive the ability at level 76 called Tsubame Gaishi, which is a 60-second recast timer. That what it does is it allows you to recast the previously executed EI Jutsu with the potency increase effective as if it was Hisatsu Kaiten. So basically what you're going to use this for is either Goken or Midare Setsugeka, basically. I would never see a situation, unless there's 2 bosses that you're fighting at the same time, that you would apply a dot on both of them, as they are basically like they're both being Kaiten, and you cannot use Kaiten on this enhanced ability, and it can only be used basically immediately afterwards. So, which it's quite nice. It's obviously more damage. The base potency is 1200 on the Kaishi Setsugeka, which is 1.5 a Midare Setsugeka, but it's the same potency as if it was Hisatsu Kaiten, as Kaiten increases the next weapon skill, which Midare Setsugeka, and all of the EI Jutsus are considered. In terms of their weapon skills and sens, those all maintain the same functionality. Hakaze still goes into Jinpu, Shifu, and Yukikaze, which then go from Jinpu into Gekko and Shifu into Kasha. The only change that we saw here is the removal of slashing on Yukikaze, which has been compensated by giving an extra 5 Kenki gauge upon execution of Yukikaze. Obviously, we said we had the traits Takasha and Gecko, but those can now be extended during your AoE rotation as Fuga goes into Mangetsu and Oka, which now extend the duration of your Jinpu and Shifu by 15 seconds to a maximum of 30 seconds when doing this rotation. So obviously super cool there. A lot of the DPS and getting this quality of life buff, as well as the tanks, where when you're doing your AoE GCD rotation, you don't drop the one buff that matters the most. It just feels bad, like as an example, I'm going to be playing Warrior, to have to do an AoE pull to start off with, and having my Storm's Eye drop from the previous pull, because I have to do just overpower spam, but now I can use an ability to extend that. Samurai follows the same suit, as well as Ninja and all the other jobs that have that functionality built into their AoE combo. So this, you obviously just have to do Fuga into Mangetsu or Oka, and then vice versa, in order to keep both Shifu and Jinpu up. So you're going to be doing a lot more damage on AoE pools now, and then also with the back-to-back Tenka Gokens, effectively, you're going to be doing even more AoE damage. And now that Gurren also doesn't have fall off damage, it's just going to be a crazy amount of damage. You're literally going to be a Wrecking Ball combined with a Beyblade at the same time, and you're going to be doing a crazy amount of damage. Another thing to note is that Hisatsu Sene and Hisatsu Gurren share the same recast timer, so you can't be using one and then the other. They do share the same recast timer on a 2-minute cooldown, both costing 50 Kenki gauge. And basically that's going to be funded by your ability at 68, which just increases your Kenki gauge by 50 every minute. So every other one of these abilities, you're going to be getting this ability for free, which is just basically, like I said, replacing Hagakure, which I believe gave you 60, if I remember correctly. It was 20 for each sen. I could be wrong on that, but it was a similar value. And overall, Samurai is going to be looking pretty much to do the same sort of rotation. Now, obviously, on your Midari, you're going to be using you're going to be doing the back-to-back Midaris with the ability level 76. You're still going to be looking out for AoEs to use Third Eye, as Seigen is a DPS increase. And you still obviously have the flexibility of jumping back and dashing back to the boss and doing crazy amounts of damage overall. And Samurai is more or less going to play around the same style of play. Now, how do I see Samurai fitting into the overall meta? Because that's kind of what we need to look at. Is Samurai going to be good enough? It was the poster child of the last expansion being the new job. It's going into a new expansion. It's not going to be the shining light that's looking at Dark Knight and the new jobs of Dancer as well as Gunbreaker. So what's Samurai going to offer? Well, since everything is seemingly moving less away from raid buffs and more onto the Mr. President or the Glass Cannon type of playstyle, Samurai can fit that bill. So I think there's going to be a pool of DPS that are going to be in that. So you're going to have Samurai, you're going to have Black Mage, you're going to have Machinist, you're going to have Monk, and Summoner can also be kind of chucked in there as well. Now, it depends on what type of composition you're going to be going for. So in terms of mandatory jobs that are going to be in there, you're going to be looking at the likes of Scholar with its crazy amount of healing and not having to worry about using their Aetherflow stacks on damage. They can use it strictly for healing. You then have Ninja, who's obviously going to be mandatory because Trick Attack still exists. Dancer is going to be mandatory, and we can see a scenario where even if they suck, that the amount of damage that they're giving is going to be absolutely insane. So you're going to want them regardless if their personal DPS is bad in a controlled raid environment. Also, the likelihood of Warrior Paladin being super strong, considering Paladin looks like it does the most damage on paper at the moment. Subject to change, obviously, with the potency calculations for that. But we'll just say it's 2 tanks that don't really arbitrarily mean anything. And then obviously 1 healer that is probably going to end up being Astro in a speed kill composition, which now leaves 2 spots open. It leaves 1 spot that's most likely going to be melee because you need to have melee LB, and then a spot that's going to be flexible among the rest. I think Summoner is going to be super strong, so that's going to take that 3rd spot, and then you have to pick between, well, even Ninja has the melee LB spot, so technically you might not even need another melee. It may be a scenario where 3 ranged is better, or having the double caster where you have Summoner Black Mage as the has either the Mr. President targets, and then you have Dancer off to the side. So it's going to be a tough thing to balance. I think Square Enix, with the introduction of Dancer, has put themselves in a little bit of a hole, but I'm excited to see it because it looks fun to play. And a lot of people have been, well, wanting it for a long period of time, and with Samurai just kind of doing only DPS and not really bringing any raid utility outside of their own DPS, it's going to have to be a lot. And it seems like they're going that way with Black Mage and Samurai, so I just really hope that it goes to a position where these two are like the front runners, to be the carry, as it were, for their respective roles. So that's going to do it for this video. That's all the jobs we've covered. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave comments down below if you have differing or similar opinions, or just wanted to strike up a general conversation as well. I make sure to look at all the comments there, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're going to be putting out more content as well for Shadowbringers and all the other things that'll be going on the channel in the days to come. We will also be doing a podcast a couple hours before the servers go live. It seems crazy. At my time, it's going to be 4 a.m. So it's going to be super early, so I'm going to be coming straight home and just going straight to sleep and getting up and getting ready for that. So that should be fun to talk about the patch notes and all the final job numbers that we see, because they'll be updating the site, which they did for Stormblood, which will show us the proper job potencies and exactly what every ability does for Concrete, at least for the first week of the expansion for early access. So that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to stick around for the podcast on the Thursday morning, or Friday morning actually. Some people will be for Thursday, depending on what time zone you're in. But be sure to stick up for that, and hope you guys enjoy that. Have a good one. See you in the next video.